Hey, hi Ollie. Hey everybody, I'm Catherine. Welcome to Wayward Farm. We're here today. We just want to show you what's possible when you have a bit of lawn and you have a love of flowers and you're maybe learning about pollinators or trying to figure out what to do with your lawn. And my husband and I moved into this place back in 2010, and we had our first summer in 2011, and we just started digging up lawn and planting plants here and there. We just kind of went crazy, little by little. That's not our main job. We have our own businesses and everything, but we just fell in love with, plants. And then we heard all about the insects populations dropping and all of that, and it was like a very big crisis. And I just wanted to clarify why we're doing this, because there's a very urgent situation happening right now. Insect populations are plummeting, and without the insects, we don't have birds, we don't have crops, we don't have food, and it's just an ecosystem with native plants is one where we can all live and grow and be happy together. So the best way to do that is on a grassroots level. And when we moved into this place, it was all lawn, and since then we've kind of, you can see our messy meadow here. I'm about to clean all that up, but we have a little hoop house over here, so we have garden for insects, we have garden for people, and we also have our new sign, Wayward Farm. We call ourselves Wayward Farm because we're in the middle of a town. We have 2/10 of an acre, and our route to becoming a place where we could teach other people how to do this was not in any way a straight line or planned. So this is just to show you what somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, how you can do this yourself, even if you don't have a whole lot of knowledge or a horticultural degree. So this is our little garden here. This is, again, 4 weeks later from my first time talking with Amelie. And you can see everything's starting to come up. We have a lot of daffodils and bulbs for the early pollinators that come out. They're not native, but they really help bridge that gap early in the season. And then what you're going to see is a lot of natives and vegetable garden all coming up together. Interestingly enough, this is our driveway, but that also used to be driveway too. That was just all for like 30 feet or something. That was just sod over pea gravel. And it's the only flat, sunny space on the property. Everything else is kind of sloped or in the shady side. And so I really wanted to grow some tomatoes. So I just flipped over some sod, added some compost and straw and cardboard, and just did some lasagna gardening. And had an okay, few tomatoes the first year. And the second year I flipped over another row of sod. And just over the years, I just kept killing the grass and adding more and more organic material just from stuff we had. And so you can see what we did is we actually built up quite a lot of soil, enough to make some raised garden beds. And eventually I planted some pear trees that are very hardy. We have this year we planted some grapevines to go over this trellis. So every year we try to add a little bit more perennial aspects, so we'll have continuous growth and food and things that insects also love, and also just try to keep improving the soil. You can see there's a little hoop house down at the end, which is we just kind of threw together just to test the idea, and then realized that it's working. So so we're going to keep going with that. Here we have a lot of strawberry growing underneath the pear tree. And then I have a row of asparagus growing underneath the grapevine. The strawberry will just take over and grow in between the asparagus. In this raised bed over here, we'll be planting hopefully some more perennial greens that'll come back. We're gonna do a little experiment in that bed. And every year I try to grow something new and just to see what works. I've talked to so many gardeners, and they're all right place, right plant, right place. And it takes a while to figure that out. Even if you read the little labels, it doesn't always work out. So you have to be willing to just try things out, move things around, see how they grow. But the cool thing is you can learn by observing. You don't have to have a degree or anything like that. if it's something that interests you, it's easy to do. And if you're planting native perennial flowers, they pretty much take care of themselves once you plant them and water them and get them settled. They're very resilient, and it's almost impossible to kill them. So in a normal garden, what you often see is you have a group of plants and a lot of bare earth around them. And what I really love to see is no bare earth. I really love to see plants everywhere. So what I've done here with this pear tree is just lit strawberry. I planted a few strawberries and I just let them grow, and they just cover everything. There's a little bit of thyme in there. The thyme helps repel the slugs. And so the thyme and the strawberries grow really well together. And then I have onions growing over here. These are onions that come back every year. Some garlic chives, some walking onions, and those help repel insects. So you have a kind of a nice, there's some wildflowers and wild geranium and things like that. And that attracts a lot of insects that are also beneficial to the pear tree and to the vegetables that are growing in the garden. So there's kind of this nice ecosystem going here. They all seem to like to grow really nice and close and cozy together. And then your soil stays a lot wetter. You lose a lot less moisture. And also the beneficial microbes and the fungi networks and all those kinds of things that we love so much, because you're not tilling this earth ever. It's just staying the way it is. It just has a chance to really develop year after year after year. So I'm a person who really likes seeing plants work together, and that's what I'm trying to do, is experiment all the time. In terms of yields, because you want to know what do we actually get out of this, right? We have two pear trees because they need to pollinate. We get the first year we got maybe a half a bushel, and the next year a bushel, and last year we got I'd say almost 2 bushels off the smaller trees. And of course we give a lot away because we just love being able to share that with our neighbors. But also I put some in brandy last year to see how that would work. And I also dried some of them, dehydrated, the ones that we didn't eat fresh. They last a really long time. So I picked varieties that actually keep really well. So we have these pears for probably a couple months to cook with and to eat fresh, and then I preserve some of them, which we're still eating the dried pears. And then the onions, of course, I mean, it's mid-April, they're already coming up, I'm already cutting them and using them in cooking. And there's nothing better than fresh, I use the tops of these walking onions, and then the garlic grass I use in curries and soups and salads and, cooked fresh, what have you. So we already have a yield from this, even in mid-April. Yeah. So this is one aspect where, thyme, for example, is not a native, but it is actually very good when you're working with plant groupings because it attracts a lot of bees and it also repels a lot of other insects. Now, the other thing it does is it keeps invasive plants from growing, and the strawberry does the same thing. If you get strawberries that have runners and shoot runners out, then they last for a couple of years, but then they'll shoot other runners out, and I don't really care if they grow in rows. That way they cover all the ground, and then weeds like dandelion and some of the other grasses and things like that, they literally don't leave any room for that stuff to grow. So I do a little weeding in here very gently every year, but it's very little time that I have to spend because these things completely cover the ground. And we do, even with the chipmunks stealing them, we do get at least a couple of quarts, 2 or 3 quarts of strawberries out of this patch every year without me having to do anything special with it. So that's I consider that an added bonus.
So how many species are growing in this one little plot, which is, say, 10 feet by 5 feet-ish?
Just this one right here?
This
Oh, this
little,
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, so we have strawberry, we have violets, we have thyme, we have garlic chives, we have Egyptian onion, we have wild geranium, we have echinacea, lavender, and then at the very end of it we have a couple of grapes. So, and then there's different things that pop up that sometimes I let grow, like the violets, for example. Yeah, so fairly intensive. I forgot the pear tree.
Yeah.
When we moved here, we were both starting new businesses, and we didn't have a lot of resources. You know, we didn't have a lot of time. What we did is we kept our eyes open for things that could come our way. So, for instance, these marble blocks right here, this wasn't here when we moved in. The neighbor was getting rid of a wall that was built out of this marble that comes from this local area. So we asked him if we could use it. And so we used that to create steps on the slope, to create raised beds, to create seating areas, because it's really nice to have places where you can sit comfortably in the garden. And we used old pallets to make stakes. We just slowly, we pick up rocks from the side of the road to build the beds with. So we really tried to use as much as possible what we could get for free. And it's a wonderful way to garden. You don't have to have a lot of money or time. It's great to just start from wherever you're at. That little bit makes a huge difference.